Welcome in, everyone. This is Zach, and this is episode 1 of the Blockbusters podcast. Violent Johnnie Walker, good to meet you.
Dakota here as well. Today we're going to be trying out a Johnnie Walker, and I done forgot what it's called.
This is the High Rye.
High Rye. Yeah. And we're going to be reviewing the 2024 horror film In a Violent Nature that just came out this past weekend.
Everyone, this is Dylan. Great to meet you. I'm just along for the ride. Let's get started.
All right. Well, first things first, we'll start off with our whiskey review. So Cody and I are sitting here with some glasses in our hands, fresh pour. Dylan, I know you've had a chance to try this at a different time, so why don't you give us your initial thoughts on what you were smelling?
Yeah, so overall, the best way to describe the nose and then Johnnie Walker, it was a deceptive mix of vanilla and caramel. Promising delight, but hiding behind a storm of disappointment.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of creamy vanilla, and to me, it's very herbal and maybe even borderline chemical on the nose. I don't know. I mean, it's not the best smelling thing I've ever put to my nose as far as whiskey goes, but it does have a little spice to it.
Yeah, you can
And
definitely
like a very, I don't know, like juicy ripe fruit. What do you think, Cody?
Yeah, I get that. I definitely smell vanilla in it.
Yeah. All right. Well, cheers. Let's go in for a taste.
All right. That's interesting.
Yeah. Sweeter than I remember it being from when I tried it with Dylan yesterday. Dylan, did you have some palate notes you wanted to share?
Yeah, definitely. So the best way to describe this, it was an assault of rye that bulldozes your taste buds like a rampaging beast. Well, any potential that it had for nuance or balance, utterly destroyed, and pretty much just leaves a one-dimensional burn.
Okay. So not hitting it for you. I'm getting like a green apple sweetness, and then maybe like a mild like toffee. But yeah, obviously the rye really asserts itself with those like baking spices, the clove, and that sharpness on the palate and the warmth on your tongue after you finish it. What you thinking?
Yeah, it's very strong. I mean, the rye punches you right in the face.
I mean,
it's a decent one, I think.
Yeah,
it's the first time I've ever had Johnnie Walker.
Yeah, I think this is all. I don't know, Dylan. Have you ever had a different Johnnie Walker prior to this one?
No, this is my first introduction to Johnnie Walker. I pretty much lived in the disdain that Reddit had for it and never picked it up. So.
Yeah, so I guess just to touch really quickly, the goal with this podcast, at least initially, will be to review some budget pours. So I picked this up from local ABC for $31.99 plus tax. Obviously, all Johnnie Walkers are blended whiskeys, Scotch whiskeys. This particular one is 90% alcohol, whereas the majority of them, I think every other one, except for maybe a few special editions, are closer to 80 proof. So they bumped up the proof a little bit. Obviously, this is also not a single malt or a blend of single malts. This is actually has rye, barley, and wheat blended together from the distilleries of Cardew, Cameron Bridge, Teaneck, Kalila, Kleinlush, and Glenkinchie. So lots of there's some Isla in there. There's some Highland. There's I'm not sure if there's any Speyside, and there's some Lowland in that blend as well. I mean, I think it's married together well, but I mean, it's not going to be a. I think it's a great introductory poor, perhaps, but it doesn't really have American rye characteristics, nor does it have Scotch whiskey characteristics. Um, so we'll go around. Dylan, what's going to be your rating you're going to have for this whiskey?
I'll probably put it right out of 4. It's kind of like I felt like it was licking a rusty pipe, and I needed a tetanus shot immediately after drinking it. And it's like kind of like I don't know if you guys have ever opened your door, like especially living in the country, had a squirrel run in your door. It's essentially just an unwelcome guest. Is the best way I would describe it.
Oh wow, okay, harsh words. What do you think, Cody?
I don't know. It's kind of middle of the road for me. I'd probably give it like a 5.
Yeah,
It's all right.
Yeah,
It's not something I really want to like take home and have a bottle of.
yeah.
And Zach, to all our lovely guests out there, would you like to tell them how we're doing our rating system? Just give them insight as to how we arrived at it.
All of our ratings for both movies and whiskeys will be on a 1 to 10 scale. 1 being disgusting or terrible. You couldn't finish it. You walked out of the theater or you poured it down the drain. And a 10 being it was perfect, it was life changing, it was mind altering. You've never had an experience like this in your life. So I figure for most of our reviews, we're going to probably be in that 4 to 8 range, because I will probably generally try to avoid anything that is knowingly terrible. But on that note, I think I'm with Cody here. I'm going to probably give this a 5 out of 10. I think it's good enough. It's fine. It's okay. It's all right. I would finish it. I would gladly accept a pour of this if someone offered it to me. But like Cody said, I don't know that I know that I do not need a bottle of this in my life. So unfortunately, we have one. So we need to find some person to give this to as a gift. But anyways, I think that summarizes it pretty well. Not the worst thing, not the greatest thing.
I definitely have better at home.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's something. Definitely. I think it's something you could use to just introduce someone and say, "Hey, here's what blended Scotch whiskeys can be like." Because I don't know that they get much better, but they probably get worse. So, all right. Let's get into this movie, because I think we got a lot more to say about this than we do about the whiskey.
Yeah, I'm real curious to see what you think about this, Dylan, overall.
Yeah, so I guess the best way I would describe overall in the movie is imagine the entire cast was Sydney Sweeney from Madam Web. That's the best way I can describe it. Fill it up, Aaron. That's all I can remember. It's just as soon as I said that, the dialogue was terrible. I mean, loosely threaded plot, and it was essentially just a walking simulator. With murderous tendencies is how I would describe it.
Yeah, I definitely went into this with wanting to be open-minded. I wanted to like it. I kind of read before going to the theater about some of the hype surrounding this film. I think pre-release, and the gore and the intensity and the kills, and then the homage to old slasher films, which I have a soft spot for. But I don't think it lived up to that billing for me. What about you, Cody?
Yeah, I mean, I understand like the methods that they were trying to use with it, and kind of the callbacks to like Halloween and Jason, especially Friday the 13th. It's all over this movie. I mean, just the cinematography, especially, even though it's like third person, the location, the lake scene, all that is definitely a homage to Sean Cunningham's original Friday the 13th. But yeah, there was things that were okay, but the dialogue was terrible. Like we kind of discussed in the car driving home from the theater, like it was like video game dialogue. I just felt like I was playing a third-person video game, ASMR walking simulator. That's what it felt like. The kills were very basic. I mean, the only one that really stood out was the yoga kill that everybody was going crazy over before it came out in theaters. And even then, it wasn't as gnarly as like Terrifier 2 or some of the older 80s slasher films. There was no score. I mean, you can't really really
The
compliment
only
that
time
at
music
all.
played was when the characters were playing it. So
Yeah. So I don't know. I wasn't a fan. I wasn't going into it with a lot of expectations, but I give them a thumbs up for the effort. But
yeah,
other than that, it's not a film that I'll rewatch, even though I know it's coming to Shudder sometime soon. It's just
I think it's directorial and writing debut for Chris Nash.
yeah.
I think that's pretty apparent. I think he'd worked in special effects, so you could see where his expertise kind of lended itself. I think the where special effects were used, I think those were executed well. But and like you said, I appreciated like what they were trying to do. Um, Obviously, there was typical horror victim behavior in this, and you kind of have to suspend all reason and logic when you watch a movie such as this. And well, I know we talked about the park ranger getting too close to the guy who he's clearly had experience with in the past dealing with, and knows that he's incredibly powerful and strong, and yet gets his gun in arm's reach.
Exactly. Yeah, no double tap whatsoever. Yeah, that was. I mean, it's the typical horror tropes of stupid characters. It's not like it reinvented the wheel on that at all, and you don't really have any story with them. They're just kind of there for the body count. So most of the time, it's not like you could relate to any of them at all. So, um, I don't know. I've heard the Strangers film is really terrible, and it's kind of got a basic formula to it. And this one's probably a lot different from that as far as like it being a little bit more fresh with the ideas and things that it was doing. But it's just not really a rewatchable film, in my opinion. It's just if I want like 80s, I'll go back and watch like Sleepaway Camp or Slumber Party Massacre or something stupid like that.
I mean, can we
Some of
just
those
admit that Johnny was probably just tired of the shitty dialogue, and that's why he wanted to kill everyone, though?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean, and let's talk about that mask he was wearing. It was almost like a mask of invisibility, a mask of stealth, a mask of strength. He was able to breathe underwater like a hippo for an extended period of time. I mean, as soon as he put that thing on, like he just took off. He never ran anywhere. I mean, he always walked everywhere, but I mean, it's kind of like the Johnny Walker high rye. It's just like essentially it was so bad he just had to go walk and get another drink. Back to the ABC store to get something else. So
it's a good allegory. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, the concept of like a back to basics slasher film like really intrigued me, just as an idea. But I don't think this was the execution I was looking for. I think going into it, I was like, oh, a slasher film from the perspective of the killer. That's different. That's definitely fresh. However, I think it really removed all sense of tension
I
because we
assume
knew
like
what it was
with
all the
the
time.
but with the how did you feel about the third person view though? I would like to see some first person elements intertwined.
I think that would have been even more unique if they had incorporated some first person stuff. I didn't hate the third person, but like I said, I think it completely changed the tone. It went from like, where's the killer? He's lurking in the background. I mean, obviously there was some of those scenes like the fireplace scene or the campfire scene. Kind of had that element to it, and they alluded to it in the film themselves. Oh, there's this guy behind us. That to me is builds tension and builds fear better than slow lumbering third person over the shoulder camera view.
Yeah, because you know exactly where he's going, or where he's going to be at. So it kind of kills. And the thing is too is like there's not a lot of horror films, at least from my knowledge, that has a lot of POV. Like if I mean they'll have like shots of POV, but not like a full scale 90-minute movie of that. I know the original Maniac and the remake with Elijah Wood had a lot of POV shots in it. It was kind of cool to see that. But yeah, I didn't really
Considering the whole genre started off with a POV scene.
exactly.
With Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. And Black Christmas was the same way. There was a lot of POV shots in the original one. So yeah, the third person was it kind of took me out at times, and like you were kind of mentioning about the sound design as well, when the two characters are at the like the dock or whatever it is on the lake, like I kind of had a problem with that as well.
Yeah, the audio levels were just confusing to me because they were low, but they also had like a poor quality. Like they had like a tinniness to them. Like I couldn't even hear the beginning, scene where he's um, going up onto the animal catcher dude's house, and they're like talking with the park ranger, and they're arguing back and forth. And I was just chewing some popcorn, and like I couldn't hear what they were saying. And then the lake scene had like a weird, like when he's across the lake watching them. It's just, like obviously the dialogue was very, very awful.
That was terrible.
Terrible acting, poor writing on that part, and I think it just came across really unnatural and very, I don't know, robotic in a sense. Like they were just running through lines. I think you said it perfectly. The video game NPC walking through the street, and you hear people in the background talking.
It's like some Skyrim or something like that, like Fallout or something. That's what I felt like, with the dial. It was just so random.
Yeah.
It's like you could just hear them off in the distance, but everything they said was just terrible. It was just like phoned in, like they were reading right off the script. And I don't know. And the main problem, like one of the main problems I have, and we discussed this too, was the whole uh, yoga scene. Like, everybody was freaking out online about it. Like, a lot of people said it was one of the best like horror kills in any movie in a long time. And just the whole, I understand it as far as like kind of taking yourself out of it and just enjoying it for what it is. But the whole scene of just the idea of it, like you were explaining, like where he puts the hook between her stomach, like she would have fell down instantly. Like legs would have been just gone at that point. And a lot of the logic behind it really didn't add up.
Yeah.
And it really didn't even come close to the violence of Terrifier 2, which was just ridiculous.
Yeah, just like an incredibly blunt object shoved through your abdomen. I'm thinking maybe you're still alive and conscious, but you're probably not gonna stand there and turn around and then have a hook placed in your skull in the front of your brain and then get flipped back around and not drop like a sack of potatoes. So, and then also to like have your head pulled off of your body and pulled through your stomach. That it was gruesome, but as soon as I like kind of like took a step back, I was like, oh, this is just so obviously fake that it doesn't have. I felt like I think we talked about it. Friday 13th and Saw had some more gruesome kills that were like way harder to watch than this. And then there was two kills that even happened off camera. I mean, the first kill, you see the aftermath, but oh well.
Yeah,
I feel like that would have been really impressive based on the aftermath to have seen. That could have been like to set the tone like right out of the gate. But they decided not to do that, and then I think the third or whatever kill, the girl in the lake. I mean, yeah, he just pulls her under. I mean, there's no struggle, there's no blood scene. I think it would have been scarier if he had just pulled her under and you just saw like a pool of red.
That's what I thought they were actually going with, and they didn't. They just kind of just the body floats to the surface. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the kills that were in it, like you said, the first one was off screen. You only saw the dude's arm. It was like on the hood of the car or whatever it was. And the scene where he kills the dude with the headphones when he's smoking a joint, like that was like an old school Friday the 13th kill.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing special about it. Like it just didn't really have anything that stood out, honestly. It just kind of tries to be fresh, but at the same time, it's just going back to old horror tropes of the 80s.
Yeah,
That's one thing, particularly in the plot line, I found kind of confusing. They alluded to his backstory, but they never explicitly mentioned, like him being somebody that's fairly immortal, can't die. The only things they mentioned that is buried at the fire tower, and his mother's locket keeps his soul at rest. Um, I found that very interesting, and they tried to tie that back together, but it was just not. It wasn't a very strong plot point, in my opinion. Could have been done without almost.
yeah, I was just about to touch on that too. I think you know the whole timeline too is confusing. Like the park ranger's dad has dealt with them, and the park ranger apparently had history with them, and the park ranger didn't look that old to begin with. So it's like I don't know. And then the whole campfire, story. Anyways, I just didn't really understand when this took place in like time with respect to what we were seeing. Yeah, they don't really explain. I think the moments they chose to like try to give him personality or backstory were poorly executed. The truck, the little toy car, that's fine. That worked, but the whole magic mirror at the beginning to try to explain the importance of the locket, I feel like they could have just waited until the park ranger scene to explain the importance of the locket, and we didn't need a magic mirror on the wall. Uh, it's like I think I would have appreciated an actual true flashback scene as opposed to these silly, I don't know, backstory reveals.
Yeah, that's kind of thing I was saying, like when we were talking about it too, is like this whole scene at the end, which went on too long, in my opinion. It wasn't really I didn't really have a problem with the way it ended because it leaves it open for, like, oh, possibly a sequel. But the whole truck scene where the lady's talking about the black bear that attacked somebody, and you got more backstory in that character that we never even heard of the whole movie than you actually did with the Johnnie character. And, the whole reference with him being kind of a kid in his own mind with the keychain with the car on it, that's obviously a throwback to Jason's mother and him keeping her, severed head and her sweater to kind of, he had a child's mindset because he died as a kid in the lake. So a lot of that was reference to Friday the 13th again. And I just felt like there wasn't any backstory at all besides, what you guys pointed out. That was really it.
Um, yeah, the bear allegory was kind of heavy-handed
Yeah.
too. I mean, it's like, oh, he let you live because we can't explain why animals do what animals do. I don't know. It was. Anyways, I feel like we've said enough.
Yeah.
I don't know that any of us have given it a single redeeming quality. I don't know that we've made a single positive comment. So I guess I'll turn to you guys. Is there anything you want to say positively about this film?
I will say that I thought the location was cool, even though it's just the typical woods, but it being in like Ontario was a really pretty location. The 4:3 ratio was interesting. I didn't even know that they were going to do that for the film because the trailers were all like widescreen. So that was interesting, choice. I won't say it's like a great choice or anything, but it was an interesting choice. But I mean, the cinematography was great, and I mean, even though the Yoga kill's really stupid and makes zero logic whatsoever, it's entertaining to see it happen when it does happen. But I think a lot of people are overhyping it, kind of like they did with The Exorcist and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's really it for me. I just think that if they do make a sequel, I hope that it at least has better backstory, dialogue that isn't NPC related, and just just something to give us more about his character, and just I'm interested to see if they would actually do something with it, and if it does make enough money, obviously they will make a sequel because it just kind of leaves you hanging. It's just a cliffhanger. So, but the most positive thing was definitely the cinematography to me. That was the standout.
I don't think I would necessarily have anything positive to say about it. It's probably one of the worst movies I've seen in the past 2 years. Yeah, yeah. That's all I have to say about it. There's not. I mean, okay. I guess positively, it was kind of like the initial lack of dialogue, the scenic views. I guess the grotesque nature kind of just reminded me of like typical A24 films. Like Midsummer or their adaptation of The Green Knight. Like that's what it made me think of. But and that was kind of cool, but it was just poorly executed overall.
Yeah, I think the cinematography, the natural shots were good. Some of the framing I didn't love, but some of it I did enjoy the framing they chose for certain scenes and shots. And like I said, I'll give some nods to the special effects. It didn't look like fake. Obviously, it was fake, but it didn't look fake.
The worst part about that to me was the part where he's carrying the body.
Yeah.
The head was awful. I mean, it was like a Spirit of Halloween decor. That's what it looked like to me. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, some of the bodies had some definitely had some clunky looking torsos. But anyways, I think we're ready to go into our well, we already kind of touched on our final thoughts. I feel like I will start. I think summarizing everything. Basically, I appreciated the homage to the old films. I think it does a couple things differently, but overall, it really failed to execute on the things it was trying to do differently. So for me, I'm going to be probably at a 3.5 out of 10, personally.
Yeah, I would give it a 3.
Is it worse than a Killer Clown from Outer Space?
No, it's not. That would definitely be a 1. I would put The Blob at a 5 if that gives you reference.
The Blob, like the original or the remake?
The original, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I think that's fair, just for the cinematography. I think it's shot pretty well, and I love the sunrise and sunset moments, like when he's walking through the woods, is kind of cool and peaceful. A little ASMR, but too much ASMR, unfortunately. But yeah, I'd give it like a 3.5. It's not something I would, like I was telling you, it's a movie that I really wouldn't watch again. But if I wanted to be like, hey, you want to see a cool, stupid kill, and then show them the yoga scene,
Just fast forward.
That would be it, basically.
I think I enjoyed. I think it was like Killer Rabbit. Did some.
Oh yeah, I remember you mentioning that to me.
That was like effectively the same quality movie, but that one was campy enough and tried to be campy, so I actually ended up enjoying it. But I think overall, I mean, this is I think we all agree it's a subpar film. It's got multiple flaws. There's definitely way better things to see in the theaters right now. I think you can enjoy parts of it, but not all of it. I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening in to the first episode of Barrels of Blockbusters. On our next episode, we'll be diving into a bourbon whiskey and potentially talking about a list of our favorite movies. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
I'm Zach.
I'm Dylan.
All right, see ya.